there. I can see there are about 9 people listening to this. We are going to speak about innovation today, and I assume that all of you are entrepreneurs and all of you would be involved in some kind of an innovation in your respective organizations or in your respective careers. So I am primarily going to speak about what are the sources of innovation, but let's start with what is innovation. I wish this was an interactive session and I could take answers from you and learn from you, but since this is more or less a one-way communication, I'm going to stick to what I know. So what is innovation? Innovation is doing anything new. This is anything new. We often tend to confuse it with the word invention, which is actually creating something new, inventing something new. Innovation is the process by which most of the time business owners or entrepreneurs create an application of the inventions that is typically done in the laboratories. So a scientist or an engineer would sit in a laboratory and create something new, and we, people like us who are doing business, would use those inventions to create new products, new services, processes, or systems, or anything which can be used by a common person, and in the process that gives us some kind of an economic benefit. It creates, we create a business out of a new thing. Now, innovation is a wide and deep subject. We can speak about a whole lot of things about innovation. Let me quickly point out the 4 basic components of an innovation. Innovation needs creativity. That means you need to think out of the box, as the cliche goes. But it also means that you need to be creating something that nobody else has created till now, or doing things in a way that nobody else has done till now. So you need an element of creativity. You need the inventions to base your innovation on. And then you need an element of design, which means how you deliver the innovation that you have created using creativity and invention. If you blend it with the design, the final output that you get is an innovation. Okay, it sounds a little theoretical, so I'll quickly switch into the business angle of it. Now, for a business enterprise, anybody who's into business, the innovation should mean or impact at least 3 of these things. It should either impact your top line, which means your gross revenues should go up, or it should impact your bottom line, which means your profits should improve, or it should improve your brand value, which in turn will improve both your top line and bottom line. Is there a way to get feedback? Okay, so assuming that all of you are listening. So when we are talking about business innovation, we should make sure that anything that we are trying to do new, anything new that we are attempting to do or investing our time, effort, money into, should impact either of these 3. Top line, bottom line, brand, or a combination of these 3 elements. If it is not, then we will not call it a business innovation. It will become an academic innovation, which may fuel business innovation towards the end of its life. With that base in mind, let's look at what are the sources of innovation, which is the crux of my talk. As in, what are the various places where we should go. When I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, they say, okay, I want to do something new, but where should I get new ideas from? How do I know where I need to improve? How do I know which processes need improvement? How do I know what my customer needs? How do I know what the market needs? How do I know what ideas can take me ahead of the curve, ahead of my competition, ahead of the market? So here are a few sources that you can look at. Now, what exactly applies to you will be dependent on your situation, your business, your stage of your business, age of your business, and how it fits into or how well it is doing at the moment. But these are some of the sources which can tell you where to look for potential ideas that can give your business the required boost. Okay, so these are the three primary sources which lead to new ideas for a business: pain, wave, and waste. Now take them as words for the moment. I will take you through the sources of innovation. Now this is just one slide on which I'm going to base the rest of my talk on. What I spoke till now was the context setting for bringing you on to this sources of innovation. Now sources of innovation can come from structured sources and unstructured sources. Structured sources is where you go looking for an idea, you can plan and you can fit it into a strategy, and you can proactively look for new ideas, experiment with new ideas, and then adopt and adapt whatever fits into your business. Unstructured is something where you let your mind be free, let your employees' mind be free, and just in a very free format try to find new ideas. Okay, business need a combination of both of them, but let's look at some of the structured sources of innovation, and these are the three things that I spoke about earlier. So let's start with the pain. Now, one of the primary sources of new ideas is the pain points, existing pain points. Now, if you are already running a business, you are probably already solving a customer problem or solving some kind of a problem. A business always is a problem, a solution to a problem. So even if you have a shop, it is a solution to a problem that people need their daily groceries, and you are there to supply them their daily groceries. If you run a software company, you are solving the problem of automating business processes for other businesses. So whatever you are doing, you are providing a solution to a problem that exists for your customers, right? So now let's look at where can you look for the new pain points. Where can I look for new pain points? Now there can be your own pain points. You know, if you are a business or you are an entrepreneur, you will have some pain points in running your businesses. Now, can you improve your efficiency of your business, of your own business, by addressing your own pain points? Can you say that, okay, if I improve, this is a pain point in my business, if I can improve on this, I can potentially improve my efficiency and hence improve my bottom line and top line probably. Okay, let me give you an example. A few years back, when there was a boom in the IT sector in India, about 30 to 40% of the workforce used to be women, and these women were typically in their reproductive age. They were all getting married, getting kids, and as soon as they had kids, they would quit. They would quit to take care of the child. And when the HR did an analysis and found out that a lot of their attrition is not really because someone else is paying them better or something, but the maximum number, you know, a huge percentage of attrition is because young mothers are quitting to take care of their children. So they went to all these mothers, all these young mothers, and said, what can we do to not keep you away from the work? And you know, based on a survey, the answer that they got was that if my child can be closer to me, if I can bring the child to office, I will potentially continue to work. And a lot of IT industries started a creche in their premises, where the mothers would bring their children with them to office. They'll leave them in the creche, which is nearer to them, where they can walk within 2 to 5 minutes of time. They can go during the day, they can go and feed their children, they can go and play with their children for some time, they can have food with their children. So they removed a major pain point and they brought down the attrition by a substantial number. Okay, so yeah, one source of innovation can be to solve your own problems, you know, all pain points that exist within your system or for yourself. Okay, so for example, if a lot of your employees are getting stuck in traffic and losing time, can you provide them an alternate solution of either working from home or provide them a solution where, you know, a company car picks them up and drops them so that they don't have to go through the stress of driving or something like that? So that can be one source of looking for the ideas to innovate. Moving on, you can look at your customer pain points. Um, Now, this is something that a business should do on a regular basis. A lot of very successful companies who've been living and thriving for a long, long time have a very well-defined process of capturing the customer pain points. They regularly go to their customers and ask them, what more can we do for you? How do you rate our services? How what part of our organization is doing well? What is not doing well? But having said that, if I speak as an observer who's outside the systems, I see that a lot of customer surveys are done with an intention to get a customer rating and then to use that as your PR or a marketing material, saying that our customers rate us on 5 on 5, 4.5 on 5, 9.9 on 10 or something like that. Now, the answers that you get are a function of the questions that you ask. If you go and ask a customer some questions which they will answer as 4.5 or 5 out of 5, you will get that answer. But if your intention, and it's perfectly fine to do it for your marketing exercise and for your PR exercise, but you have to do if you have to deep dive into the customer mindset and the customer's business and find out what exactly is not working or what more can you do for them, they will give you the insight. And a lot of times our customers know our products and services much better than we know ourselves or our employees know, because they bear the brunt of it. If we are bad, product or services are bad, the person who bears the brunt of it is the customer, not us. Okay, and we bear the brunt when the customer leaves us and goes to competition. So it's very important that your front-end employees, people who are dealing with customers on a daily basis, must get a feedback from them, must get ideas from them, because the person who's going through the pain because of your services or products is the best person to tell you what to do to what to innovate, where to innovate, and what new products and services should be introduced, or how should you change your existing products and services to cater to the customer so that the customer is happy. And we all know that a happy customer means a lot more business and a lot more customers. Okay, so customers' pain point, I'm sure you all have some process to gather information about the customer insights, but see if you can improve that process to get ideas from your customers in terms of what can you do new for them, or if you can go a step even further, what kind of ideas would you like to serve their customers. So how can you help your customers serve their customers? Okay, this is a very potent field, and this is like the core of your business. So I'm not going to give you an example. I'm sure each of you have your own example of what kind of a customer pain it is. Moving on to the next one. Can you look at some of the pains in the society? Can you sort out the problem of the society where where you exist, wherever your business exists or wherever you exist, based on either of these parameters? If you can say that, okay, I live in this society and this society has these problems, is there anything that I can look for and innovate for the society? Now, this could be directly linked to what you deal in, or it may not be linked to something that you deal in. Let me give you an example of solving a problem for the society. When Arvind Eye Hospital was set up in Tamil Nadu, the problem they were trying to solve was how to bring down the cost of an eye operation. Now, eye surgery costs something which most of the Indians cannot afford. Okay, so Arvind Eye Hospital also had a choice of going the same way and saying, okay, a surgery happens at 100,000 rupees, and let me also price my surgery at 100,000 rupees. They could have also said, okay, we'll do 20% cheaper and we'll do it at 80,000 rupees. But they said no, an Indian at the bottom of the pyramid cannot afford this kind of, they probably need a surgery at 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees. Okay, so how are we going to solve this problem while making profit and while making sure that we are profitable and we deliver the service at the price that at which a certain band of society can benefit out of it. And this made them think about the whole process of eye surgery and how the eye surgery can be divided into various parts where not everything needs to be done by a doctor. A lot of the peripheral work can be taken over by trained staff, trained nurses who leave the doctor with the minimal time to spend on the surgery, and the doctor can do far more number of surgeries than a normal doctor would do. And in the end, they ended up creating a process and a organization which is both making money. They may not be making too much money, but they are making money. They are profitable. They are not a non-profitable company. And they are also solving a society's problem by serving a section of the society which was not served till now. Now, this is an example where the whole core business is surrounded by it, but you can also look at some of the other problems of society where you can potentially gain, and this can fit in very well into the CSR budget that you have for your organization. Okay, I'll stop here to take any questions that you might have at this point in time. Please type in your questions. Okay, so I assume somebody's typing. No. Okay, so I assume there are no questions. By way of actual example. Okay. So, for example, I'll tell you SAP, which is the world's largest ERP organization. They have an annual customers meet where they only sit and hear the customer talk about how the product is used. In fact, they let their various customers talk to each other and learn from each other how to use a product, because they think the customers know how to use the product better than their own designers do, because designers only design while customers use it as an application. Okay, so that is one great example of how the customer pain points are used. But every organization, any damn organization which is successful and doing well is engaging in a customer in a customer query where they indulge the customer to tell them what more can they do for the customer, because that's the core of your business. No business can exist without engaging in the customer. Okay, I can see that. This one. Okay, so I'll move on to the next one, the wave. Now, wave basically refers to the trends, whatever is happening around us, both inside the organization and outside the organization. So there can be various types of trends. There are actually limitless trends, but for the sake of this conversation, I have restricted it to about three types of trends that are existing. So there can be political trends. Now we may think that politics is delinked from business, but it's not really, because every time there is a political trend, there are certain things which are favored by the political leaders of the country or region, and then it impacts our business both positively and negatively. Let's look at some of the positive examples. Now, if you see, the current government is focusing a lot on Digital India. It's focusing a lot on Make in India. It is focusing a lot on women empowerment, especially women entrepreneurs or startups. Which means if your business is somewhere around this area, you're going to get benefit of the impetus that government is going to give. On the other hand, if you happen to be in sectors which are not the focus area of the government, you are bound to feel a little bit of a setback in the thing. So it always helps to know what the trend is, or what the potential future trend is, and then keep yourself in sync with that trend. So this can also be called your environmental. So when I say environmental for politics, it's about the political environment. But let's look at the impact of environmental impact, which is the key concern, and it may remain a key concern for next couple of decades. So what kind of innovations can we do to improve the environment around us, the physical environment around us, to deal with pollution, to deal with the non-renewable resources of energy, to deal with all kinds of pollution that is around us. Okay, and I'll give you an example. Now Ola, which is a taxi company, which is essentially a taxi company enabled by a mobile app. Now what they did when in Delhi, if you remember, just the last month, Delhi was doing this experiment of odd and even, and the Ola decided that they can start a Ola share service, which will benefit the environment and their customers, and potentially also increase their business. Now, a layperson's wisdom would say that a taxi company should never encourage sharing, because that essentially means killing your own business. But here, that if you port 4 customers every day from their home to office, you are taking over their driving stress. So they are far more, there's a higher probability of them using you instead of any other taxi company. So they're using it as both as their marketing motive and also to kind of fall in line with the environmental requirements. And it's a very futuristic move that they have done, though it may seem that it is something that is not really directly impacting their business. Okay, that is one. Now there are a lot of small innovations happening in waste management. Waste is a big problem for us at the moment. If we, most of our cities are dirty, they're not clean, and the garbage dumps are a problem. If you burn the garbage dump, you know what happens. I guess a lot of you are locked in from Mumbai. So there are a lot of waste management companies that have come up to use waste as a source material and then churn out a material that can be used in this space. For example, there is a company called Attero Recycle. Attero Recycle, based out of Noida. They take all your electronic junk. They in fact buy your old phones for some price, and they recycle them, and they extract each and every metal out of your electronic gadgets, and they sell that metal, and they are a very, very profitable company. And it's a company which has actually designed the whole system to extract different metals separately out of all the used electronic gadgets. Okay, so and similarly there are waste management companies which are working on the clean toilets, portable toilets kind of a thing. So environment is a big source of innovation of the ideas, and every business, whichever business you are in, there is some element of environmental impact that you are creating. So see what kind of an environmental initiative you can take to make it a little better for us. I'll move on to the next one, which is the technology. Now this is the biggest environmental factor or biggest trend for our lives. Anybody who started working in 90s or early 2000s and is going to work till 2050 or so, this is the biggest wave that we have seen, right from the days of scarce telephone lines to 4G networks, to internet, to mobile internet, to mobile apps, to e-money, to e-wallets, everything. This is the biggest technology trend. I can talk about this. I can talk about this for 3 hours at a row. So at a stretch, sorry. And there's no end to what I'm sure you've all seen the impact of technology in your personal lives, in your professional lives, and in your how you interact with each other, how you interact with your customers, how you interact with the environment, the whole social media, which is now such a public communication that you make. When you put something on a Twitter or on Facebook, you're basically not talking to your friends, not talking to your family, you're talking to the rest of the world. Anybody minus you from the world, you're talking to them. So this is the biggest impact, and there is infinite there is infinite potential in terms of what you can do with technology if you treat technology as a tool and then say, there are this so many things that we can do with technology. There is no end to it. So if you have a specific question here, I will take that, but I guess the answers are the examples are upteen and they're there in front of all of us. Any questions till now? Uh, okay, so we will move on to the next one, which is waste. Now, this is another source of innovation which can lead to a lot of incremental innovations in your organization. Now, if you can sit back and assess your business and see what kind of wastage is happening, whether it's a wastage in terms of effort, whether it's in terms of time, or in terms of resources. Wherever there is a wastage happening, there is a potential to innovate. Okay. There is a potential to innovate and there's a potential to collaborate. Okay, I'll give you a very interesting example. There is this fashion online store started in Delhi by a very young entrepreneur. Now what he says is he's trying to bring back the customized clothing back in vogue, but he wants to do it online. So which means you can give your measurements to him and you can choose the material, you can choose the design, and they will stitch it for you and send it to you wherever you are in India. Now, the problem is they need to have measurement. They need to have somebody go and take measurements of the person. Most of the times people can't take their own measurements. Okay, so what they did, they employed one person in each of the major metros, and they tried to send across this person. And since most of the first users are in big cities like Delhi and Bombay, they had a tough time meeting the customer needs, because most customers wanted this person in their home either in the evenings or mornings or weekends, and so they were facing a lot of issues. So they found that they're wasting this person and they're not really getting the kind of returns they need from him. So they looked at it, how can we reduce it and how can we circumvent this problem. And then they figured out that another place where people go easily and do their body measurements is a gym. So what they did, they tied up with lots of gyms in lots of areas. Now gym is a trend and you can literally find it in any neighborhood. So they tied up with a lot of gyms, and then they said people can come here, or a person from gym can go to people's home and take measurements. Okay, and I thought this is a brilliant innovation to circumvent a problem, to make use of something that already exists. And in the process, they not only generated more customers for themselves, they generated more customers and more revenue for the gym owners as well. Okay. Similarly, there was this company called Eco, E-K-O, Eco. They started doing banking for rural segment. So they had these small banks or pseudo banks in rural areas. Now, it is not financially viable to open a bank branch in every town and every village. Okay, SBI does a great job, but most other banks can't afford to have a bank branch in every village or every town. So what these guys did, for smaller payments, they tied up with a lot of kirana stores, the local grocery stores, and the grocer would act as a banker for small transactions. Now, each grocer had a limit. It could be as small as 10,000 rupees a day, but it served the need of that. It served the need of that town, because a daily transaction may not exceed 10,000 rupees in a small village. People withdraw 100 rupees, 500 rupees, they deposit 200 rupees, 500 rupees. So the daily transaction limit of something like 10,000 worked very well, and they used, instead of wasting the whole effort, money, resources on setting up a branch for very small transaction values, they used the existing infrastructure of the villages to deliver services, banking services, to the people who never had banking services. Okay. Any questions till now before we move on to the unstructured part? Because this is the core of my talk today. No. Okay. Huh? Okay, so I'll move on to the unstructured part. Now, unstructured innovation is typically akin to saying that ideas can come from anywhere, anytime, if you keep an open mind. If you go with an open mind, every conversation, every travel, every book you read, every uh, every time you get out of your comfort zone will give you some ideas, and you can always come back and use those ideas in your business, in your day-to-day life, in your personal life, wherever you want. Okay, because ideas build on ideas. But how do we get the unstructured ideas? How do we get lot of ideas, and how do people who get lot of ideas get ideas? And there's a very, very simple answer to that, and that answer is create intersections in your life. And when I say intersections, I mean to say go away from your comfort zone. Whatever you are used to doing, whatever you are very comfortable with, let go of that. Go and try something new. It could be as simple as trying a new cuisine. It could be as simple as meeting a person who's absolutely unlike you. So if you are somebody who works in an office, go and meet somebody who has no office, or who works in an environment where there are no timings. Or if you belong to a certain strata of society, go and talk to a person who comes from an absolutely different strata of society. Go out and travel. If you're used to living in one city, go out to another city, another country, another continent, and you will come back with millions of ideas. And the simple observation of being there gives you so many ideas, and some of them you will always pick up and say that, okay, this is something that I can try in my work, in my life, and this is how you do. And let me give you an example of a phenomenon which is called Medici effect. Now, Medici was a family which lived in Florence in Italy in 17th century, and they were the people who owned the so-called cool cafes of that time, and they would cafes of the time, and all the ships that landed in Florence, the sailors, the merchants from all over the world would come to these cafes and converse. And they say that it is these conversations that led to the Renaissance in Europe. So, in fact, I was speaking at a startup conference last couple of months back in Bangalore, and another speaker mentioned that why is Bangalore the startup capital of India? How come all startups have a base in Bangalore? And somebody very nicely answered that Bangalore always had a cafe and a pub culture. So that is the basic infrastructure that you need to generate new ideas. So people meet at these places, and they share ideas. They come from different parts of the world. They come from different stratas of society. They come from different backgrounds. They speak different languages, and they end up exchanging so many ideas that each of them goes back richer. Okay, now if we take this concept further and we say, how do I adapt it in my life? All I have to do is make sure that fix up a frequency for yourself and say every once in a week I'm going to meet one new person whom I've never met earlier, or I'm going to read a new book, or I'm going to travel to a new place, or I'm going to try something that I've not done before. And believe me, you will start getting so many ideas that you will feel that what were you doing before this? So create intersections. If you are an employer, create intersections for your employees. Make them look at the different dimensions of life. Make them look at different dimensions of the business, and that's how you create intersection, and that's how you create the culture of innovation, as they say. Okay, and I'll wrap up with giving an example of the Ford motors, the Henry Ford, when he created the T model, and the Ford, the famous Ford car, when he said that you can have any car, any color, as long as it is black. Okay. Now, where did he get the idea? He in his times revolutionized the automobile industry by having an assembly line. Before this, the cars were not manufactured on the assembly line. And the moment they moved on to assembly line, which means the whole process was broken and one person was doing the same job again and again, and moving on, so the efficiency was improved. The number of cars that could be manufactured in the same time improved manyfold. Now, where did Henry Ford get this idea of assembly line? He got this idea from a meat packaging. He went into a meat packaging factory, and he saw that it's not that one person picks up the a bunch of meat and then packs it and keeps the packet there. One person picks up, one person packs, one person seals, another person checks, another person. So there was an assembly line mechanism in the meat packaging industry, and that's where he picked up the idea of assembly line for automobiles. And going ahead, after a few years, McDonald's picked up the idea of assembly line for their for creating burgers. Now, if you go and stand on the counter of McDonald's, you would see that there is almost an assembly line kind of a thing. There are raw materials lying somewhere, there is something lying somewhere, and in a very assembly line manner, the whole thing moves, and burger comes into your tray. Even the way it is delivered to you on the tray is a very part of an assembly line process. So come to think of it, meat packaging industry inspired something that revolutionized the automobile industry. Automobile industry inspired something that created the whole culture of fast food chains. And McDonald's, of course, has inspired a whole lot of other food entrepreneurs to try the same model. Okay, they've created this whole industry which is called fast food, and which is based on assembly line concept. So another example I can give you is that I've written a book called The Mouse Charmers, and in that book, Flipkart is a chapter. The book lists about 12 pioneering digital companies of India, and it has companies like Flipkart, Make My Trip, Shadi.com, Common Floor, Make My Trip, and some more. 12 companies in 12 different verticals. So when I was talking to the Flipkart management, and I said, where did you get an inspiration to deliver customer service? Now, Flipkart has always been known for their impeccable delivery. So you can almost guarantee that if they are saying they will deliver on 2nd of February, you will most probably get it by 1st February or 31st Jan. And it will not get delayed beyond the date they promise. Now, on the scale at which they operate, how do they deliver it? How do they promise it? How do they deliver each time, every time? And when I asked them, they said, we take inspiration from Domino's, where they sell you a pizza for 500 rupees only because they guarantee that it will be there in front of you in 30 minutes. Okay, so that kind of, so we take inspiration from them. If they can deliver a perishable product anywhere in city in 30 minutes, we can definitely deliver a non-perishable product, in anywhere in the country in 3 days or 4 days or 5 days that we promise. Then they said we take, for the marketing, they said we take inspiration from Airtel. They said for an end-to-end customer services experience, we took inspiration from Indigo Airlines. Now, if you look at Flipkart is an e-commerce company. Domino's is a fast food company. Airtel is a telecom company. Indigo is an aviation company. But your inspiration can come from anywhere if you are willing to take it. Okay, and every successful company today is taking inspiration from its peers, from people who've been successful before, but the rate at which the change is happening, the success stories of yesteryears may serve as an inspiration, but they may not really give you ideas of how to succeed. But if you really look at look at your contemporary peers and see what they are doing, and is there something that I can learn from them and then adapt it to my business. There is no dearth of ideas. There is absolutely no dearth of ideas if you are willing to go out and look at the world with open mind and open heart. Okay, so with that I will. Okay, why is it not going ahead? Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip all this. I have a long presentation, but I'm going to skip all this and leave you with a quote which says, who in your organization. Gary Hamel is somebody who is known as an innovation guru. He's written a lot of books on entrepreneurship, which is how do you promote the culture of entrepreneurship within a large organization. Entrepreneurship is what he calls it. And he says, who in your organization do you believe is responsible for fundamental shift in strategy, which is essentially innovation? And he says there's only one answer, and that's the right answer, is everyone. So whether you are at the bottom end of your organization, you are the last leaf in your organization, or you are sitting on top of it, each one of us is responsible and has the potential to change the face of the company. So that's one of my favorite quotes, and that's what I leave you with. These are my coordinates if any of you would like to interact with me. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. Please share your questions, thoughts, ideas, whatever.